right, folks. Welcome back to BEG Wrestling, baby. We are back, and we are here in a big way today with co-host Kevin. Kevin, how you doing, man? How have you been?
Good,
A little time
good.
off?
Yeah, long time no see. Things are good. Ready to talk
Things are
some
good.
wrestling.
Things are
Yeah.
good. And, folks, as you can just see, I just kind of spoiled it. But here shortly, we have Michigan head coach Sean Bormet is going to be joining us, folks. So stay tuned, okay? He's been an award winner on our show previously, as we all know. And we talk about him a lot. We've never talked to him. But we're going to talk to him here briefly. So he's going to be calling in here shortly, folks. And I tell you right now, I'm excited for that. So while we wait on Mr. Bormet, and make sure you say it right, Kevin.
Me?
Strong T at the end there.
Bormet,
But
not Bormet.
we've had a lot of stuff happening, man, in the meantime. Obviously, the Olympics, we're going to touch on that. But we have movement in lineups. We have money rumors being thrown out there. Lineup changes, potentially. Man, let me first ask you, Kevin, what are your overall takeaways from the Olympics?
I thought they went okay. You know, I looking at it as a whole, when I first thought about it, I was like, man, we bombed out on men's freestyle. But then when I kind of broke it down weight by weight, the expectations were there. You know, I mean, really going weight by weight, it's not as if anybody like significantly underperformed. It's the Olympics. It's tough. And yeah, it's the first time since 68 that we left without a gold medal. But at the same time, with the exception of two separate Olympics, we're generally at that 3-medal Olympic mark, you know, where we're just medaling half the weight. So
Yeah.
it's not unusual. We had high expectations, but you know, of course it was disappointing. The woman really got things going, and that was exciting. And wow, how about that? First two weights medaling gold, and I really like how they did it, like one weight a day. I thought that was kind of cool.
It was
With the
cool,
woman.
man. Only thing I wasn't real wild about was having to be up and sharp at 5 a.m. Eastern time here
Yeah,
to
that was
watch
rough.
it. But it was
was
cool.
rough.
It gave you something to watch every single day. And, boy,
Yeah.
we got started with Amit
Fire.
Elor and then Sarah Hildebrand on basically, the first 2 days. Dude, I was
Yeah.
fired up, dude. I tell you right now. And I'm thinking, we
Yeah,
are
that's
rolling
awesome.
these Olympics. And I made a
Just think.
tweet saying men better show up. I got a little criticism. And
Of course. Yeah, I mean there was two previous to this. There was 2 gold medals for women's total in Olympics.
yeah, I think you're right. Yep.
That's crazy. And now there was 2 just boom boom, and I mean close to a third there, and you know, with
Close to
Kennedy
third.
and
Then Helen also got her third
Yeah.
Olympic medal with the coming in with the bronze. I mean, the women, dude.
and Miracle, dude, she was right there, man. 6-6 criteria
there.
loss there.
Yeah.
I mean, and as far as the Greco, man, it's tough. Like, I don't like saying anything bad about it because those guys are tough as nails, man. It's just that they're not set up to succeed, you know? And I mean, for us to go 0-5 and not score one takedown or one exposure in the whole Olympics, that's just not good, you know? And I don't know what the answer is, but I feel bad for those guys, you know?
Well, I mean, I think I have a couple quick answers. Would be, let's let some of these freestyles participate in Greco. I'd say that number one, right? First and foremost, you can or Bo Nickel, let him out there or something. But yeah, it just needs more exposure. Greco needs more exposure.
Yeah.
But overall, man, the men's, I tell you right now, that Spencer loss was gut wrenching. I mean, that just hit you in the gut. The Spencer Lee loss, man. I mean, I was so pumped up for that. I had a Spencer special we were gonna do, dude, and that one hurt.
That was a huge bummer, man. It was crazy how I noticed, like, on a lot of guys and girls were significantly different on day 2 than they were on day 1, you know? Like Takatani there that beat Dake, 20-12 or whatever. Then he gets pinned the next day. And then also looking at oh my gosh, Amuzad, 65 kilograms. Did it look like anybody was going to touch him?
Oh
The
yeah.
first 3 rounds, he just smoked everyone, 29-0, 3 opponents. I'm like, nobody's going to beat this guy. And Kyuka beats him. I couldn't, and beats him good. I was like, what the? But the one thing I'd say is watching the Olympics, you're always going to see some stuff where it's like, man, kind of critical of the rules and whatnot. The one thing that really stuck out to me was 74-kilogram final. The guy wasn't pinned. Half his back was off the mat, and it's like, is nobody going to say anything? Like his half his back was off, and the ref's just like,
Yeah.
he's not going anywhere. I mean, are they going to change the rules where if you just hold someone and they can't move, it's a pin? Doesn't matter what position, and they could be on their stomach. If they can't move, it's just a pin.
Well, you mentioned that, and 2 matches, that being one of them, that were not did not involve any Americans. The other being that heavyweight final that you touched on as being just a must-watch. That was a wild match.
Can you imagine if Gino would have lost that? I mean, they stopped. He thought he had a tech fall. He's celebrating, and then you see the goons in the corner all looking at it, and I'm like, oh man. And then I'm like, it's all right though. He's like a point away from a tech. Then you just see it happening, man. Gable all over again with this guy. Just boom, boom, boom. And with a minute left, I'm like, he's done. He's going to lose. And they would have been on suicide watch with him, man, after that 2 Olympics losing like that.
Yeah.
And then
hey, Kevin, listen.
Yeah.
All right. We have Mr. Sean Bormet on the line here. Let me bring him in here, Kevin. So hang on. We'll continue on the Olympics later. But there he is, Mr. Sean Bormet. Sean, can you hear me?
Yeah, can hear you great.
All right. Hey, great to have you on the show. Thank you for calling in. We really appreciate it. We've talked about you a ton. Never had the chance to talk to you. So I'm honored. We're honored to have you on here. What are you doing nowadays, this time of year?
Well, we just returned from Paris a couple days ago, so sort of getting acclimated here, back at the university. Got a lot of our college guys coming back into town, freshmen moving in next week, so a lot of preparation for just this new upcoming season and this preseason. Also just sort of doing a deep evaluation on Olympics and sort of putting some plans in place for this next Olympic cycle in Los Angeles.
Yeah, and since you bring it up, you have been coaching actually 5 Olympians that were there. So I want to ask you, and that includes Adam Kuhn, Mason Paris, Micic, Amin, and Austin Gomez. So congratulations. And, I mean, what was that Olympic experience like for you?
It was, I thought it was an outstanding Olympics from a competition standpoint. It was, coming off Tokyo where there was, limited mobility, no fans with COVID. I mean, it was a much better experience overall. I'd say for the athletes, the coaches, the fans. I thought Paris did a nice job with that facility. I thought the fans were great. We had actually 4 guys competing. Unfortunately, Micic had an injury leading up to the Olympics. So a couple of days before we actually got in the village, we got news that he would have to pull out and not be able to compete. So that was a little bit of a disappointing news we got regarding Stevan, and obviously, we all felt really bad for him. The other 4 guys I thought competed really well, and it's Olympic Games, the best of the best, pouring their heart and soul into it, and putting it on the line. Unfortunately, I know our guys would have liked to come out of there with a little more. But definitely super proud of the way they prepared, their effort, the way they competed there, and the way they represented our program.
Yeah, a lot to be proud of. Sean, I have Kevin on the line here as well, and I'm going to throw it to him because I know he has a question kind of regarding your freestyle coaching background. But I personally had the opportunity to interview Mason Paris when I was at Olympic Training Week here, and I tell you, he was a great guy. I really enjoyed getting to know him. obviously didn't achieve what he went to Paris to achieve. I want to ask you kind of what you thought of his performance, and then also what his any inkling into his future. Can we expect to see him again? Because I know he mentioned he's been approached by NFL teams in the past. So anything in regards to that?
Yeah, I think it's, for me, it's early to make any comments or guess, what Mason's concrete plans are. I know he's a great competitor, and I know, I spoke to him briefly, there, but shortly after the match, just, I know he is capable of being the best in the world. He was super prepared. I think there were a few little things in that match that started to, he just got a little unclear in a couple moments, technically and tactically, against a good opponent. I mean, the guy was a silver medalist and had beat the Olympic champ before. He's definitely a good opponent. I think Mason he's right in the hunt to win gold this year, and I reminded him that he's still for the sport at this level. He is really young, and he's got incredible opportunity ahead of him, and there's a lot of opportunity for gold medals ahead of him. And obviously we hope he continues to want to train and compete at the highest level, and like I said, we really believe in him, and we know that he's going to have a lot of gold medal opportunities, in this next Olympic cycle at the World Championships and in LA. So that's sort of our hope, but usually we give these guys a little time to sort of get their feet back on the ground, get away from the sport mentally a little bit, and then we'll start having some debrief meetings with them, evaluation meetings with them, and start talking about the future.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I hope we do see him again. But Kevin, go ahead. I know you had a question.
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, Sean. First, I just wanted to say I know I actually wrestled high school with someone that you're familiar with, Brian Aparo.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, he was on my
BA,
varsity team. Yeah, he said
great
BA,
guy.
and he
Yeah,
was
great guy.
he said that without getting into too many details, that the recruiting trip for him was pretty epic. Um, he said that was a good time, and he mentioned he just wanted to say hello to you, and I thought that was pretty neat that he knew you. I wasn't sure if he was the same time as you, but I think he was just coming in as you were out.
Yeah, we had a little overlap, and I've always sort of stayed in touch with him. And when I was running my club, and he had developed that mat mopping system company, I was utilizing all his products. So yeah, BA's a great guy.
Very cool. Very cool. I was just wondering, when it comes to, with all the NIL stuff and everything the way things are, do you find yourself sometimes being more of like feeling like more like a CEO of a company rather than like a coach at times? Or how do you balance all the hats that it seems to take to coach in college these days?
Well, it's changed significantly, even since I took over at Michigan as the head coach 6 years ago. I mean, I sort of joke all the time that, really, I feel like there's been significant, almost unprecedented change in college athletics, and specifically in wrestling, which we're involved in. But since I took over, I had one sort of normal season. Then we went right into COVID, and then we went right into the transfer portal, and then right into NIL, and now we have all these new changes coming down the pipe. So, I would say the biggest thing as a leader is, you've had to be ready to have some flexibility and start thinking creatively about what all this means as all these changes keep kind of landing on our desks. And, that's just something that, I think great leaders have a capacity for, kind of seeing the landscape, finding solutions, being creative, and putting the best system in place, to operate and perform at the highest level, giving all these new rules, all these new circumstances, and all this new opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sean, I mean, and the recent news with Anthony Holman, the VP of NCAA Championships, saying that that schools who participate in a profit sharing will not wrestle in the same NCAA tournament as the schools who do not. Is this real, and do you think that's something that could really happen?
It's just so hard to say. I've been involved in a few meetings. The most recent one I was involved in with my colleagues here at Michigan and the other head coaches. But that was about 2 or 3 days before the Olympic Games started. I was on a meeting while I was over in Paris. But there's so much uncertainty still about the actual decision and when all the decisions that are going to affect each one of our sports and how we operate. There's so many small things and decisions that actually have to be made. I think that's the most difficult part and challenging part, is that as far as we are into this next year's recruiting class, we don't have answers for all these things yet. So I think
Sure.
it's so early, and so there's just not enough clear information yet on how the NCAA is going to handle all these changes, especially for sport by sport.
Let me ask you, if you had a pie chart from your first year at Michigan as head coach up until now, and the pie chart consisted of the percentage of your time that you spend coaching and the percentage of time that you spend recruiting, has that pie chart stayed the same, or has that pie chart changed? And what would you say the percentage of time is that you spend in recruiting now?
It's changed quite a bit since I first started. I would say it shifted at least. It's increased. I would say it's increased by at least 40-50%, just because we sort of you sort of start recruiting these guys as at the end of their sophomore year. You sort of have a list, and you've identified a lot of the kids you're looking for already, but then you can start contacting them on June 15th, and then the recruiting process moves pretty fast. But even after you start getting commitments, you have to really continue to recruit, because they don't sign until the fall of their senior year. So there's just a lot more recruiting, a lot more continual recruiting that goes on. The nature of the visits have changed a lot with the rules that came out last year, where we can actually pay for more family members to fly and sort of expand the recruiting opportunities with the families. I think some of these are really good. Some of these are really good changes. Because at the end of the day, that recruiting piece is so important, and getting the right kids is so important, and also making sure that in that recruiting process, the kids really are able to connect to make sure that your university is the right place for them. Because finding out that there's a mistake or it's not the right fit a year or two later, once you're into the actual process of having them on your roster, is a lot more challenging and unfortunate. So getting it right and trying to get it right as early as we have to start with these guys, I think, is sort of the challenge, and that's why I actually enjoy recruiting. I think part of that's because I ran that club and worked with that age group so much for over a decade before I came back to coach at Michigan. But I really enjoy the kids, and and it's just clear, though, that it's become more and more important to get that part right.
What is it? What would you say is like the number one thing that you're looking for in a recruit? And then when you find that recruit, what is your elevator speech for Michigan?
Well, from a recruiting standpoint, we're trying to target the top performers, and kids that are obviously competing for state titles, national titles, and really from a cadet and junior age group, competing for world championships and being on those U.S. world teams, competing for gold medals. Guys that have the aspiration to do that at the senior level as well. But I'd say, one of the other criteria for us at Michigan is we're looking for kids that, academically are also driven, have performed well academically, can compete and really prosper here at Michigan academically, and guys that really also value getting that kind of degree to sort of set themselves up for whatever they want to do after wrestling. If they decide to get out of wrestling, they don't want to coach, that professionally they're really driven and want to be at a place where they can, really have a good network around them, and ultimately, really, we're seeking high impact individuals with outstanding character, kids who are really passionate about wrestling and committed to living a championship lifestyle, and that's sort of reflective of the guys we have on our team, our club guys. We're pretty intentional about the club guys that we have here surrounding our college program. just because they are sort of additional leaders and mentors, in that wrestling room. So, those are the kind of kids we're really looking for and the kind of families we're looking for. But the academics definitely play another part in it for us.
Yeah.
I was I'm a pretty big Cornell fan, and it broke my heart when Cardenas had to leave because of the Ivy League awesome rules. But
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
tell you what, I'm glad that he went to Michigan. I really am, and I'm happy for him. But I was just wondering, what is it about him that made you want to bring him in? And do you find it with transfers that you're pretty much looking for those same characteristics that you are when you're recruiting people from high school, or is it like more significant performance based, or what do you think those aspects are?
Yeah, it's all of it. I mean, I think with the transfers, and especially for us here at Michigan over the last few years, there's sort of been a pattern of, Ivy Leagues and high academic institution grad transfers who, we have really attractive graduate school programs, really valuable graduate school degrees here in Michigan. So those kids that are, have been more academically driven and, are more professional and career driven for after wrestling. This has been an incredible opportunity for them. And we find that those kids, are a great fit here because they are driven that way. They definitely, we've had some guys with incredible character, really, really just passionate guys about living a championship lifestyle. And those guys are a great fit here. And Jacob was no different, as I got to know him and through that recruiting process. And, obviously, the circumstances were different at Cornell, that it wasn't an
Yeah.
option for him to stay there and continue to wrestle. So those are a little cleaner recruitment scenarios. And, with Kellen Russell, somebody that was a Michigan guy that I was, coaching and he coached with us on our staff. I was able to talk with Kellen quite a bit just about Jacob and, and obviously watching his wrestling, he's a great competitor, great wrestler. He also has that same burning desire, beyond just winning NCAA titles to compete internationally. And he's on his third U23 world team, getting excited to compete and going over to Albania in October. So he's just, as I've gotten to know him here, he's been here just a little while, and I've been gone part of that, but so far what I've seen of him is everything we liked about him and everything you heard about him. Just really a straight up worker and great leader in the room.
That's
I,
awesome.
I have to ask you this because we're all over social media and we see all these posts all the time. Rumors, $500,000 being offered to this guy, $1 million being offered. Now you don't have to answer this, but in general, are those numbers true?
To be honest, it's hard to say. I don't think. I tend to believe probably not, because I've seen a lot of speculation and a lot of information out there about things we've done here at Michigan that are not accurate. So it leads me to believe that a lot of the stuff that's out there is not overly accurate or it's inflated. And it's just so hard to know because, with social media, anybody can throw out anything they want. My experience is that a lot of this stuff has been sort of seems to be heavily inflated because I hear certain numbers, and then I hear numbers that are not even close to that from other other people that I speak with. So it's so hard to know. And that's just another thing. And some of us coaches, I mean, we have conversations about these things and sort of compare, some of these notes, and it's sort of, I think what we're all feeling is that it's just not a lot of certainty and how clear some of those numbers really are, and and how much of it also is, how much of it also can be sort of fall into the category of, of tuition and cost to actually attend a school versus, just straight NIL money that's going into somebody's pocket. So it's a little blurry.
Are you pretty engaged with social media in general?
I'd probably say I do about for the recruits I enjoy it, and for our guys I sort of enjoy it, but I'd say I'm probably somewhere in the middle. I don't do a lot. I probably do I probably do about as much as I can to be have a relevant presence for our university and for the capacity of my job. But I don't spend a tremendous amount of time on it, and I'm definitely not a guy that has a social media plan every day or every week or every month. Most of my time is on the phone. I like to connect with people. I like the relationship part of it, and that keeps me pretty busy between coaching, recruiting, fundraising, and just talking with a lot of the special people that are surrounding our program and supporting our program. I enjoy the relationship part more than I do my cell phone.
Yeah, well, hey, you're on with us now, and we appreciate it. I do have to ask you, what are your thoughts on the David Taylor hire to Oklahoma State? Did that surprise you at all?
Nothing surprises me anymore, to be honest. Nothing really surprised me anymore, to be honest. I mean, it was a quick turnaround. It was right after the Olympics. I'd say that the timing of it, the speed it happened with was probably more surprising to me than the fact that it actually happened. Um, I'm not. Again, it's one of those scenarios. It's not real clear to me on how much of the financial part is accurate, but if it is, if all that's accurate, then my feeling on it is that's great for wrestling. It's anytime we have you know bigger commitments financially to support programs here and to support coaching staffs and it's anytime we get that kind of commitment, that kind of money injected into our sport, it's a great thing.
I agree.
What, Sean? What do you think puts you more on edge? Watching your guys in a close match, or sitting in the stands and watching your daughter play field hockey for Michigan?
Well, I learned pretty quick to take my own advice and just be a dad sitting in the stands and don't say a word.
Right.
So I've gotten pretty comfortable just doing that. And I do love. I try to make as many games as I can, and I really enjoy. Field hockey's definitely the sport I really enjoy right after wrestling. But um, I don't know. I'd say I get excited about all that. I love all
Yeah.
those different moments. That part of it's not as unsettling. It's harder for me, I'd say, when you know, there's certain times as coaching staff, we sort of, we have to split up and we have to go to different tournaments. Some guys are back recruiting, and sometimes we're at maybe at trials, or we're at, the guys are somewhere in the fall, or and I'm back here recruiting or running the practices. And if I'm sitting on my iPad trying to watch these matches, then that's when I start to feel a little twisted, because
Yeah.
I'm not seeing everything I'm used to seeing. Like, I'm used to, I can walk in and see the body language, and I can see before they're stepping on the mat, and I know where they're at. I know, you know, and I feel confident. But when I don't see any of those things leading up to it, and I'm trying to watch it through the iPad, then it's a little more unnerving for me.
That's
Yeah.
great. I real quick, one last thing. I read about your and it was crazy, the story, the MMA fight, and I'm reading about it, and I'm seeing, like, you were just coming off an injury. You fly down there. They move the weight from like 170 to 185. They say that there's going to be no gloves now, and you thought you were wrestling just like a regular judo, or not wrestling, fighting a judo guy, and then it ends up being Silva. And I mean, and I think in an interview you said he was like all like oiled up, so you couldn't really grip him.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you think? Do you think like that was almost? Do you think that was like a sign, with all that stuff going wrong, that this was just get out of this MMA and just keep on the wrestling path?
100%. Well, my intention was to stay on the my intention was to stay on the wrestling path, but there was, back then in that year, there was so little money in wrestling, and I was an assistant at Wisconsin, and I think we were still on the restricted earnings salary, so it was, your salary was limited to $12,000, and you could only make 4,000 at summer camp, so you were limited to $16,000 a year salary, and there was no
Oh,
RTC support, nothing like that.
wow.
So I was getting a little bit of a monthly stipend, like I think it was like $500 a month extra from Foxcatcher, and and some of the wrestlers were starting to go into the MMA heavily. And this was right after 96. More of those guys started jumping in. And, Rico
Right.
Ciparelli and his brother called me with this opportunity down in Brazil. And they literally, I just like only been on the mat for a couple of weeks drilling after an ACL reconstruction. And I was starting to get ready for the Sunkist tournament, which was always in October. And that was my primary focus. And they told me, it's like, yeah, this, jiu-jitsu guy, these guys, wrestlers, all you got to do is watch out for, triangle choke, armbar, we'll come in and, we'll work on this stuff for a week and then we'll go down. Cause it was literally like 2 weeks notice, like no notice, no training. And, and it was $10,000. So I'm like, gee whiz, I could really like double my salary here and life could be a little easier for the next year or two. And I enjoyed watching MMA, but it wasn't like I was thinking about converting to MMA and give up wrestling. At the time, I was in sort of my prime and wrestling really well before that ACL injury. But going down there and then just, the guy that set the thing up and promoted the whole thing was also the ref. And then that's when all the stuff started to change and the guy's all oiled up. So as soon as I felt him, as soon as I saw him in his stance, I'm like, this guy's not jiu-jitsu. And then all the punches started flying. I'm like, wow, this guy's a pretty good striker for a jiu-jitsu guy. And then I got my hands on, this is all happening in like 15 seconds. I get my hands on him and I could feel how oiled up his neck was. I was trying to get a hold of his head to shoot a double on him. And that's all I could think about. Like, I got to get this guy down and I got to do it fast. Because it was clear his level of striking was much higher than mine, but he was so oiled up, and the guy obviously was just he had a great MMA career and just one of the legends out of the gates early. So it's always a great story when when people start talking about MMA. Or I've actually one time I was sitting in a gym lifting on the road, and there were some guys around me, and there was an MMA on. It was Vanderlei fighting, and these guys were talking. They're like, can you imagine being in a cage with Vanderlei Silva fighting him? And I was sitting there shaking my head, just inside laughing, like, yeah, I can actually imagine it.
Yeah, I've been there.
That's awesome. But it was so corrupt back then. That was what I'm like. Oh, I'm never getting involved with that. It was so corrupt. There was no honor in terms of like just the arrangement of it, and we just like you don't think about those things because in wrestling, everything we do, and especially in the United States, is really about the honor of the win and having the right weight class, making weight, not being oiled up, so that was an eye opener for me.
Yeah, you got to have regulations and stuff when you're getting your head pounded and you're fighting someone else. I mean, you got to have something there.
Yeah. So
Sean, I got to ask you about a couple people here before we let you go. Okay. Are you friends with Tom Brands?
I know Tom. We know each other well. I'd say we're, obviously we're colleagues. We're not, I don't know about all of us, too many of us being like, I wouldn't consider him in the same pool as like Josh Chiarella being my friend or Kevin Jackson being my friend. But I've known Tom and his brother for a long time. I spent some time when I was at Wisconsin training down in Iowa quite a bit with Bart Chelsvig and, so I got a lot of respect for those guys. I've known them for a long time.
Okay. What thoughts on Cael Sanderson?
Cael is I like Cael. I've gotten to know Cael more as I've been in a coaching role here at Michigan. He would come around and recruit some of my guys when I was running my club. I've always liked his just sort of his even keel demeanor, and I think he's got a good thought process wrapped around competition and wrapped around this sport. I got to know him a little more as I've been coaching in this role as head coach, especially when COVID hit. We did that first, televised sort of match, that duel down at Penn State. He called me and sort of brought that up. And I think back about that. I really appreciated that he reached out to me with our club and sort of we put that together. And that was, something new sort of in a rough time, for the sport and rough time for our athletes during COVID. So, I got a lot of respect for Cael, and I used to coach Jimmy Kennedy when he was younger, and then Jimmy was at Michigan for a while, and I know when Jimmy was at Penn State, they took really good care of him, and that kind of stuff's important to me. So I got nothing but respect for Kale.
Okay, Kevin, you want to chime in quick?
Yeah, real quick,
It,
you mentioned Josh. I'm a stats guy, and I went down a pretty deep rabbit hole last night on Michigan, and I was just wondering, does it ever come up that your career record is 125 and 21, and his is 124 and 21?
no, I didn't know that. I,
Well,
I
now
didn't
you
know
do.
that. I didn't know that. Wow. Yeah, I always go back to those things, and I try to figure out, because there was a certain point they didn't really count your redshirt matches, and then later they started counting redshirt matches, and I'm not sure why that was, because we actually had so
Right.
many more matches than I'd say these guys the last 20 years, and certainly the last decade. I had some years, I want to say I had like 45, 50 matches. Especially my freshman year. It was a year I think I had like 50, 53 matches.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's funny. I didn't know that stat. I didn't know that.
Well, Sean, listen, I have some other good news. We have some training partners that are ready to roll around with Paris and Kuhn. I know you're coaching them. I don't know. Are you familiar with the Nowak brothers? They're big fans of BEG wrestling.
I know them. I know them well, and they are definitely high quality training partners. I think they both combined have at least 20 seconds in them. And
20 seconds. Wow,
yeah.
that's good news, because I told Marty I'm coming out there to body him up. So if I only got to last 25 seconds.
Yeah,
okay.
that's a combined 20 seconds if it's tag team. I mean,
Yeah.
those guys.
Wow.
I don't think they've been training as hard as they used to.
Wow. Well, Marty calls in all the time. I'm sure he's going to have something to say about that. But in addition to that, Marty has something from us to give to you. I know you have a lot of trophies in your trophy cabinet, and I wanted to ask you which one is the most meaningful. But before I do that, I'm not sure if you're aware, but you were actually awarded the BEG Wrestling's 2023 Most Valuable Purchaser Award for the season for the team. Now, unfortunately, you're not even close to winning this year.
Yeah.
So
no, you did not repeat.
What's going on? In fact, Tom Brands looks like he might run away with this year, but where do you have room in your trophy cabinet for that one?
Hey, we always have room for more trophies, guys. Always have room for more trophies. Absolutely.
While we're on one other quick question. I know that you were one of the finalists for the men's freestyle Olympic coaching position before they hired Bill Zadek. Is that something that you would ever consider in the future if that opportunity opened up again?
I coaching here at Michigan will be my last I'd say full-time coaching position. I love Michigan. I love being here. I love the support we get. I love what we're building here. So, when I finish coaching here at Michigan, I'll stay involved in wrestling in some capacity. It might be, freestyle. It might be on the fundraising side also. There's some different areas that I think would be really exciting when I'm done being the head coach here at Michigan. But being the national team coach, I don't think so. I think that the nature of that's changed so much with the RTCs and the fact that most of the guys on the national team are really just at a college training with their college coaches and their RTC, and there isn't a lot of I really respect Bill. I like Bill a lot. I know he tries to get around and put time in the guys, and he's on a lot of these trips. But, I'm a guy that I love to be in the mat room on a daily basis, as much as I possibly can. It's a little different. I'd say I do it less now than I would actually like to. But that's really what I love to do. And, when I eventually at some point, when I stop as head coach here at Michigan, that's probably what I'll continue to do is have some small mat room where I continue to really work with a small group of kids and do some heavy freestyle and also try to make a financial impact on the sport.
Okay, Michigan lifer, unlike fellow alum Harbaugh, right? Harbaugh. Did you know
Oh,
Harbaugh?
he's a lifer. He's a lifer.
Yeah,
He's a,
yeah. He
he's
bleeds
probably getting
blue.
paid for life. He's probably getting
He
paid
is.
for lifer, but
He's a Michigan guy through and through.
yes, he is. Hey, Sean, I don't know if you had more time. I did want to kind of dive into and ask you about the School of Overtime Wrestling that you started and kind of ran from what was it, 2001 to 2014. And Kevin and I, when talking before this interview, were kind of discussing the significance of the impact that we believe that has had in the state of Illinois, and
For Fargo.
we believe you're seeing the fruits of this now at our Olympics now. But
Still.
really, before then, wrestling really wasn't on the map in Illinois. And is there anything you kind of wanted to touch on? We just kind of wanted to mention it because to show recognition for what we believe was the influence that had on the sport.
No, I appreciate that. It's you know, when I moved back to Illinois in 2000, the fall of 2000, you know, that was my intention, was to start a wrestling academy in Chicago suburbs where I grew up. What I didn't know at the time is that Illinois had been severely fractured between the high school coaches, sort of freestyle and Greco Federation, and the IKWF Kids Federation. And there was a big sort of fracture in the state between those two federations. It was also tied in with USA Wrestling. Prior to my moving back, there was a significant lawsuit that sort of forced USA Wrestling to basically move to one organization. There couldn't be two USA Wrestling organizations in the state, and that's how it was set up. So it sort of forced them into one organization, which was the IKWF. And I don't know all the details of sort of how that played out, but when I got back to the state, it was really just sort of in disarray in terms of the freestyle and Greco and the high school kids were different divisions, and you know, it was just the participation for the state freestyle and Greco tournament was really low. The participation going to Fargo was really low, and it was not like it was when I was in high school. When I was in high school, Illinois was, you know, one of the top 5 states year in, year out with freestyle and Greco. We didn't have duels that I remember back then, or at least if we did, I was never involved in them. I don't think they existed. But the junior nationals, like Illinois, was always a team that was competing for the title in freestyle and Greco. So when I moved back, you know, I think I started something that really hadn't really been done. It hadn't been done in the state of Illinois, and I think it sort of neutralized a lot of things because I was not trying to pick sides. I was really just there to help kids that were really motivated and dedicated and help them train. I wasn't making it a team in the state where I was trying to compete with the other kids clubs or compete with the high school coaches. I mean, I was literally just there to supplement training and help kids be as great as they could possibly be. And you know, and then I started to get involved because obviously some of those kids we were training were going to compete in these big events, and I wanted to be able to help coach and help the state. So I started to get more involved with as the board was sort of forming in the state, Illinois USA Wrestling. As that board was starting to form, I started to build some relationships with the people involved on the board, so I could hopefully, you know, just help in any capacity I could, just develop the, you know, sort of the training camps and the plans of how to organize some of the training aspects, not necessarily the federation, but a lot of the training aspects, and start to attract the best kids around the state to come together and compete for Illinois at the duels and for Fargo. And, you know, I think we successfully, over those first couple of years, we did that, and then we started to have success, and we started to win some of those duels, and we started to win Fargo, and then, you know, that momentum just kept building, and all the kids took a ton of pride in being part of those teams and helping Illinois win. And it's just sort of continued to grow. And, you know, I follow it every year, and it's always exciting for me to see. It's a lot of the same coaches. We had unbelievable coaches in the state of Illinois, just a lot of depth in coaching, a lot of depth in talent in the wrestlers, and a lot of really committed people involved in the sport. So it's always it's always fun for me to see that continued success in Illinois, and obviously we continue to recruit there. So I'm always watching it close.
Yeah, and seeing the fruits
Don't
of the labor now. Kevin, go ahead.
don't ever in a forum not mention Illinois in the top 5 as best wrestling states, because you will get a handful of Illinois people that will go to battle for that.
Yeah, as they
That I know.
should.
They
As
are.
they
I know they
should.
are proud people, but I mean, amazing. What you did was unbelievable, and it's kind of like pioneers of like what Askren's been doing, and man, if we could get the whole country to just somehow get these clubs, strong clubs like this, all around the country, it would just make wrestling so much stronger. I mean, what we were talking about, what you did and what we saw there was just outstanding. So
Yeah,
pretty
thank you.
incredible.
It was so much fun. I had such a good time. That part of my career, and even just building that, that was super enjoyable. And I still really enjoy running into a lot of the kids we coach. One of my last guys that was in the club was Joe Rao, and I got to see him at the Olympics. And
Oh, wow.
and there's still a few guys that are still way back, because my last year actually there was July 2011. That's when I came to Michigan, and Kerry Bowman's and Ed Geezy, they kept running it for a few years after I left. But just a really special part of my coaching career that was different than college. But I really, with all the change that we've had here in college sports since I've been back and been the head coach, I think my ability to understand business and build and create has really helped me in this role now.
Yeah, no, it certainly is evolving. Sean, I know you have a dinner to get to.
Yeah.
I don't want to keep you too long. I do want to say I greatly appreciate you coming on here and also accepting our award in good, kind spirit. Marty Nowak has it for you. I hope he does deliver it to you someday. And hey, I'd love to have you back, maybe sometime right before the season starts or anytime in the future. But Sean, you've been great, and I tell you what, the same takeaway as after I interviewed Mason. I'm a big fan now. I am a big fan. I'm wearing my Michigan yellow here.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it, because I was sort of tipped off. You guys are sort of, big Penn State fans, and hey, listen, it's making more sense now because I didn't hear, the biggest purchaser award. I didn't know that was such a thing until you guys sort of told me, and I do feel honored that I'm getting this trophy. But I heard you guys mention Tom Brands, but I haven't heard you mention Kale. And now it's adding up because I know you guys are, sort of Penn State fans, which I understand. And, but he does have the second best haircut in the Big Ten, unfortunately. He's got some work to do.
Hey.
He's got some work to do. And that usually boils down to the barber. I got the best barber. So, but we'll definitely reconnect. You guys keep doing great things. I appreciate it.
Hey,
Thank
we
you
appreciate
so much.
it, Sean. Thank you. Absolutely look
dinner.
forward to it. And best of luck this season. Let's go Wolverines, baby.
Go Blue.
Go Blue. All right. Thank you, Sean.
Bye-bye.
All right.
What a great guy.
Dude, how about that, folks?
Love meeting people like that, He's just...
I got to play the music, baby, for that. How about Sean Bormet, ladies and gentlemen? I mean, seriously, coming on here, dude, and graciously accepted his award. So now, Marty, you're allowed to go give that to him.
Man, your dad's giving us the Penn State fan label, man.
I know. I did want to clarify that, but I didn't want to keep him long. We had already had him for
I know.
What,
he was
45 minutes, dude?
Yeah, that's great guy. Answered everything,
incredible.
Especially a lot of people aren't into doing live calls like that,
No. I was shocked.
So
I was shocked when I found out we could get Bormet on the show. So
I was pretty pumped when you told me.
Pretty pumped.
It's something we've been talking about for a while. But yeah, I love meeting people like that, even on the phone, because then it just gives you another connection when you're watching wrestling. Like talking to him alone and seeing what a good guy is.
Yep.
I'm gonna be pulling for them in a lot of matches. Like just because of that. It's just
Oh,
how can
100%.
you not?
100%, man. Kevin, you don't have to. You can stick on if you'd
Sure.
like. I'm gonna take some
Yeah.
call-ins, and
hmm
it looks like first and foremost, who do you think? Take one wild guess. Who we have on the line,
It's
and
either
who we
gonna
have
be
in here?
Marty or Wayne.
It's Marty. Marty's got something
Marty.
to say. Marty, I'm not too worried now. Bormet told me what I got last 10 minutes or 10. What did he say?
20 seconds combined.
Combined, Marty.
Listen,
Yikes.
listen. That you know what? I don't want to have to give him a little neck twist next time I see him. But I told you as soon as you told him that said the names. You see the little smile? There's a lot behind that little smile.
All right,
Sean's
so
he is the absolute best, bar none.
Marty.
It's just like I always told
No,
you.
you were right. You were
Marty
right.
has
He's a
been
good
verified.
guy.
But when I give him that trophy, you know what? He's gonna brain me with it. I'm telling you.
he
So.
said he's going to take it, Marty. So you now have approval.
If we could get
First
that
of all,
live
you've been
too, that'd be great.
verified, and now you have approval, and I want that video, Marty. You let me know when it's happening. I might come out
I
there
got
and
two
get that
videos.
video.
I got one on fans only. The video from the wedding when I was doing my dance. Remember I had when I was modeling the underwear,
Yep,
and then
yep.
we'll get this other one as soon as he gets back into town. Or you know what? I'm actually going to Battle Creek, Michigan, which is probably an hour outside, maybe a little bit closer, maybe an hour outside of Ann Arbor. Maybe I can get him to hook up with me that weekend.
There you go. There
So,
you go. What were your thoughts on the Olympics, Marty, or that interview that we just conducted with Mr. Bormet?
Well, I'm all excited because I've known Sean 35, almost 40 years here, and when I heard he was going to be on, I was so excited because, like I said, he's as great of a wrestling coach and all those other things, and as great as he was as a wrestler. I've told you guys this. He's 100 times better of a person.
Yeah.
I told you guys that from day one.
Yeah.
Couple
It's weird.
things.
It's weird because, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. Go.
It's weird because a guy I wrestled in high school with knew him because he was going there. He was actually put him on the recruiting trips. He said the same thing. He's like, you're gonna really enjoy talking to him. He's just such a good dude and down to earth dude and absolutely.
Tell you what,
I
he's
thought
got
it
some
was a
balls,
fun
dude.
conversation.
He got some balls to call in and do it live, Marty.
Yeah.
All right, then. Illinois boys, I got respect.
That's right. You know what? And when it comes down to his favorite twins in the Big Ten, I'll speak for him. Me and my twin brother are his favorite twins in the Big Ten. We're the identical twins running things in the Big Ten these days.
Well, probably because
we do it from the stand.
probably because only last 20 seconds combined, right?
How'd you think of the interview
Probably.
though? Do you think it went pretty good, Marty?
Let
Yeah, what'd you
me
think
tell
of
you.
that?
Hold on, Kevin. Hold on. Hey, Zach,
Yeah.
We're gonna do a lot of damage. We'll do a lot of damage in them 20 seconds.
Okay,
We'll do
I
a lot of-
believe you.
Hey,
I
I'll tell
believe
you what. Let's get you tell. Well, Kevin, you met my brother too for the 20 seconds you met him. He doesn't necessarily seem like one of the messes around, but when Sean did say something about that we don't train as hard as we used to, I don't know. My brother, he lifts pretty hard. He works out pretty hard. So
Okay.
I definitely don't. Having problems with my neck and
Marty
shoulder.
exposed, folks. Marty exposed by Bormet.
The other brother doesn't mess around.
No, he don't. He's a man of few words. A couple things. Of course, one of the things that really stuck out when he mentioned that lawsuit. I was unfortunately had the sad participation. I was a vice president in the Kids Federation during that time period, and it was a dark, ugly time period. And thank God it kind of got, I don't want to say it got put to the wayside, but Illinois it came out of the depths of some ugliness to do some great things. And Sean was definitely a big part of helping that, help mend relationships and mend wounds. And what he was able to do, without question, definitely helped that ugly time period. It was not a good thing. But I thought the interview was fantastic. Obviously, anytime you're going to get a Big Ten head coach on, when he calls into BEG, says a lot. I mean, you went to the Olympic trainings and was watching them guys. You got an opportunity to talk to a lot of the guys, a lot of the coaches.
Yep.
But when he called you, you know what? If Michigan's got to be, got to be right there.
Hey, I said it, Marty. The utmost respect. Not only was he willing to do the interview, he was willing to do it live, folks. Never met him. The first time I ever spoke to Sean Bormet. First time Kevin ever spoke to Sean Bormet. What an easy guy to talk to. I mean, obviously, you see why he's good in recruiting. I'll tell you what I saw. One of my takeaways, Marty. I'm starting to think not a lot of coaches like Tom Brands. Am I crazy?
You know what, dude? That question was so funny. Are you friends with Tom?
Hold on. Zach. I made you a comment. I kind of drew some parallels about the personalities of the different coaches in the Big Ten. I don't think I couldn't have been any more right. I wasn't pretty spot on. Being a different bird, and I'm not saying who's a different bird, but being a little bit different is okay. There's nothing wrong with not being okay.
Right.
So, hey, real quick, before I go on talking, the shirt I got on is from Sean and I's sophomore year when Sean played football with us. It's from our sophomore year, from our undefeated sophomore football team. And Sean played up until his sophomore year, then play after that. But anyway, okay, the rest of the interview I thought was fantastic. The recruiting thing was real interesting, how he talked about the NIL stuff. I mean, first of all, he's a head coach of a Big Ten program. He's, so, I mean, he's what he knows on the record, off the record, all that stuff. Man, I'm so proud that he was able to come on and talk with us, or talk to you guys, and I think a lot of people have no problem sending their kids knowing that he's going to take care of them.
I'll tell you. I'll tell you what. Like I went down a pretty deep rabbit hole on. I wanted to know everything inside out, like his high school, his career, everything. And I'll tell you what. That guy has been through the ringer.
We didn't even touch.
And he is battle tested, man. I mean, when I read through, how he was undefeated his junior year.
Listen, hold on. I was there. I got a picture he's in the bottom man set position, probably
for 16-year-old
at the end of the.
Hold on, Kevin. You muted yourself for a second there. Now you're back.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I was there.
On. Marty,
so he lets the kid go.
Point.
Yep. And Sean used to pin everybody.
Yep.
What guys would do is, because like I've told you guys, we were on Mills' team on top. That's all we did. Sean had these real long arms. He'd get it. He'd slide behind from a tight waist. Guys would stand up. He'd put him on his hip, and then he'd put him on. So Sean needed a takedown, and unfortunately, up, 13 points. Unfortunately, it's one of those things where you just don't relax. And I don't know if you relax. I mean, we've talked about it before. I'm not going into it, but it was the kid was very talented. He wrestled. The kid had taken second in the state the year before. And it was just the place. We had 3 kids in the state semifinals that year. All 3 kids lost. You could have heard a pin drop when he got put to his back. And
we read about that, Marty. We lost Kevin there.
Handled it like a champ, I mean, the champ that he is. I mean, it was it was.
I think it was a Flow article. I do want to give Flow credit. I believe.
I've never read the article.
Kevin's back. Was it a Flow article, Kevin?
I just cut out there a little bit, but what I was going to say basically is for him at the age of 16 to have that mentality of, you know what, I'm going to come back and I'm just going to pin everyone my senior year because I'm not going to mess around anymore. I mean, he was 53-0 with 48 pins and 3 techs and a 12-0 and a 14-1. I mean, and then, you know, I'm reading about his college career and how, you know, he was a blood rounder his freshman year. His sophomore year, he has a knee injury right before Big Tens. Then he comes back. He's got that tiebreaker loss. He comes back and beats the same guy for third. I mean, he's battle tested, man. And a guy like that that's been through that much, he's just battle tested. And
I mean, he beat Marcus Malika in the semis, I think, to get to the final. You know.
Yep.
And I'm telling you, he was the best. He was a friggin' killer.
Well, folks, if you go back, look at his high school and college and his whole wrestling career, perseverance, attrition, and really just are a couple of the words that come to mind. But really, you can see how he has so much character and where he got that from was going through those experiences and quite a history.
I'll tell you, his sophomore year, the kid cut so much weight. You know, I mean, you weren't doing the urinalysis to see if you could make a certain weight and stuff like that back then. And we were always the first, my twin, myself, and him were always the first 3 kids, like in the building. Like his dad would drop him off early. Our dad would drop us off early. And, you know, I remember him just chewing gum, you know, every morning, chewing gum. It was probably his breakfast. And, you know, he cut so much weight his sophomore year. And lost an overtime match. You know, I think in the quarters to a kid that was a 2 or 3 time state champ.
The same kid he lost his freshman year in the quarters.
Yeah, Ben Moore. I mean, that kid wrestled at Minnesota, I think. You know.
Yep.
And he was an absolute animal. I can't tell you guys.
He only had 6 losses. He was 184-6 in Illinois. It's crazy.
Yeah. And he just was. And like I said, as good as a wrestler, good as a coach, all that kind of stuff, bro, he's even more fun to hang out with. He's an even better friend. I could call him tonight, say, hey, I need you. And he'd be here in a heartbeat. Maybe he wouldn't, but I'd like to think he would.
Well, I'll say this, with a future wrestler on the way just in a couple months, Iowa was my number 1, but now Michigan is right there with Iowa for my future son, Marty, just a couple months away.
I hear you.
And, you know, I had early commitment to Iowa, but, you know, nowadays you can flip-flop, you know, nowadays. Yeah. If Michigan on the board, folks.
Dude, I'll tell you what, man. I got a 2-year-old boy, and you know what? If he takes after me more than he does his mom, he's not getting into Cornell. So he might be going to Michigan too. If he takes after his mom, he can get into Cornell though.
Hey, did you hear what he said about what he's looking for with recruits?
Yeah.
He's looking at obviously how important the academics were and the character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know,
I thought his answer was really good. It wasn't like this cliche, boring, like, you know, like what he like really. The thing I appreciated about him a lot is he really thought about the questions and answered us, like, you know, just gave us honest answers. And which is good to see.
He wants Olympic champs, of course, but he wants good people.
Yeah.
And he wants guys that are gonna come in and buy into the program and buy into their academics. You know, you listen, you say, hey, these guys that are coming from these Ivy League schools, they see what a master's degree from Michigan can do for them. You know,
right?
And you know, that's a lot to offer. You know, I mean, that's. I'm so happy you had him on. You know, I'm glad he didn't say that he was going to brain me with the trophy. You know, I'm probably going to get a text here and say, "Hey, where the hell's my trophy?" And I'll be like, listen. "Golden, relax, man, relax."
Yeah, you better deliver that trophy, Marty. Let me get your final thoughts because we have another call in the green room.
No. I want to know how come I couldn't be on side by side. Where's Jamie?
I could have had you on side by side, Marty.
You got to be kidding me. I'm sitting here. My wife is like, "Oh, you guys should be on side by side."
Yeah,
I don't know.
How about we do that next time? I mean, I
for the
could bring it.
preseason.
Let me see
Yeah.
if I can. Well, not that one. Let's not. Yeah, Marty, I should have did
All
more
right,
prep
what
work. I
did you
wasn't
need? What did you
prepared.
want to say? You said for in closing, because you got somebody else.
Yeah,
who's calling
do you
in.
have any other final thoughts? I want to give you a chance to. Any final thoughts?
You know what? Now that I have so many research papers to grade and things like that, I'm looking forward to being able to keep my mind right, so I can be here on Tuesdays and Fridays. I still
That's
want
right.
to. I still want to be on the air with your old man, with your dad, talk a little bit with him. You know.
Yeah, we got to have you back to get your Olympic thoughts and all that. But
yeah, you know what?
little
We're gonna
unique
hit a
this
little bit
week.
of a. We're gonna hit a little bit of a lull here. People can take a deep breath after the Olympics, but hey, it's right around the corner. Wrestling's
Yep.
right around the corner.
It is. It is. Marty, thank you. Always appreciate you calling in. We will talk
Thank
to
you, guys.
again soon. But folks,
Have
it
a
looks
good
like we have
weekend.
another. Hey, you too.
Kevin,
you
have a
too,
good
Marty.
weekend.
Take care, Marty.
Okay, folks, we do have another call in. Now, I'm not familiar with this. I do. Does look like a BEG wrestling fan here. Under the name Donald Trump. Oh my
Hello.
goodness, who is
Welcome.
this
Oh.
man?
Welcome. Thank you for having me. I must say that this is the greatest show known to man. Greatest show in America. Greatest show of all time, in fact.
What? Wow, is
No.
that Donald Trump?
That must be Trump, man. That sounds just like him.
This show is going nuts, viral. I mean, wow,
Bormet
big time
and Trump
interview.
in the same show.
I must respect Bormet. If you can't make a team, buy it. And I might even take that approach myself. Buy my own wrestling team at this point.
Well, we would appreciate.
Start my own college while I'm at it. So I can have anyone I want on my team.
Okay. Were you a wrestler?
I was. In fact, I gave Dan Gable the Presidential Honor of Freedom. Medal of Freedom,
did.
I mean. I'm doing my best Sleepy Joe impression right now. In fact, I think all of America is going sleepy. Look at David Taylor during his match with Brooks. He looks sleepy.
Okay, you bring up an interesting point here. What are your thoughts on the Olympics? Did we perform?
I think it was a travesty what happened. At least 6 gold, because I know a lot about gold.
Okay.
And we can have 6 gold. But the seating committee hates America, just like Joe Biden. And I can't stand for that anymore. So when I become president, we're going to put all of our resources back into wrestling. We're going to make wrestling great again. We're going to make America great again.
Okay, well, you do frequently attend UFC fights. So, let me ask you, are you worried about Kamala? Kevin, unless you have any questions, who would have thought we'd get Donald J. Trump on here?
Yeah.
But
I'm just in shock.
Didn't know you're a BEG wrestling fan. Are you in the BEG wrestling chat there, sir, on Facebook?
I am, but the Secret Service keeps on confiscating my phone. So I have to use pseudonyms to get into the chat. Because the Secret Service also hates me.
Well, that's
debatable.
We saw what they did with my ear. That's why I'm covering it right now with this.
Well, that's true. Donald, unfortunately, I spent all my time preparing questions for Sean Bormet. I'm not sure if I have any for you. What can we expect to see here this political season and this wrestling season out of you?
Well, I'm
you're a wrestler, right? You're a wrestler,
so
aren't you?
Win. Well, I'm a natural born winner, so I'm going to win again. We know last election it was rigged. It was very much rigged. Just like the seating committee was rigged against us. Okay. We got so many first-round draws against the first seed. It was unfair. It was honestly a sham. It was the biggest sham known to man. And everyone knows that. You know that. Kevin knows that.
Kevin knows that.
And so does Wayne.
Yeah. We don't know where Wayne's working. Wayne is working. But listen, I had another question, but I mean, what was it like taking that bullet to the ear, Donald? Explain that. Walk us through that.
You didn't have cauliflower ear on that ear, did you?
Sadly, I did not. That was my good ear.
We do have
But
some comments here.
Baron
Wayne
that
does
bullet
comment. Let's add it to the
Act of God.
broadcast. You need Wayne Beaver comments. We need Kamala now. I agree. Do you know Kamala Donald personally? Now it does seem like she's not real wild about doing interviews. How about her first interview is OPEG Wrestling?
No.
How about
She knows nothing about honest reporting. Hey, you guys do honest reporting. Half the media's behind her, and she doesn't want to do an interview. In fact, I think that's a bigger sham than what happened at the Olympics.
Okay, well, Donald, you're good on money. I forgot to even mention this. Okay, I saw this today, folks. Craig Jones, I posted this on our Facebook page. This wrestling tournament, 2 weight classes. The winners get $1 million. Everyone who participates gets paid $10,001. And, folks, Kirk Philippe's in it. Nolf, Pat Downey, everyone's favorite Pat Downey's wrestling in it. We were dreaming of this exact kind of tournament just a couple weeks ago.
Oliver,
I think we said Jordan Oliver's in there. I think we said $1 million as a prize, and boom, dude, it's happening, folks. Boy, I don't have the date exactly in front of me, but
now I can see him. Now I can see Trump. I hadn't seen him until now. I turned my TV on.
Wow. Okay. But look, I got the bracket here, folks. There's over and under, 80 kilograms. This is Craig Jones Invitational. $1 million prize, dude. What? How does everyone not talking about this, right? How much did you get for winning an Olympic gold medal? $250,000? This tournament, you get $1 million. And just for participating, $10,000? Who's paying this money? Where's this money coming from?
Did you see that? Did you see the chart? Like, we talk about the Living and Dream Foundation paying, $250,000 for the winner. Did you see the chart with all the countries that what they actually pay their athletes? And we're like all the way down the bottom with $37,500. So embarrassing. Like, it's unbelievable. Folks, Trump, you better fix that.
Let's get the.
I'm going to get it from my own wallet. Well, $1 million. That's a small amount. That's a small loan for me. Small loan, $1 million. And paying $3 million. That's still relatively small. And Denmark, they're paying no one, even if they get gold. You know why that amount is so small? Because America is winners. This is a country of winners. We are born, we are made.
Let's go. Trump, I got to ask you, what is the first thing that you would do to save college wrestling?
I'll
make college wrestling great again.
I'll pour in my own money and buy better refs.
Man. These
refs stalling left and right. They don't know when to call it. In fact, I could call stalling better than that. And I'll make these rivalries more interesting. I'll buy more teams out. If Tom Brands wants someone, I'll wake some chords. I'll make things happen if Tom Brands wants someone. Kale, he doesn't need anyone. He's good. Now, that David Taylor fellow, I like David Taylor a lot. And that Tom Ryan fellow, I'll pay him a lot too, just so he can get compensated for his injuries. Praise to Tom Ryan, by the way.
If you
He follows me on
were
Instagram.
the best wrestling recruit, if you were Bo Bassett right now, where would you go to college? What coach would you?
Well, I like going against the popular grain, but I want to go with someone that I can trust. And a man like David Taylor is a person I can trust. So I go OSU.
Wow. David Taylor is someone you can trust? They just bailed on the whole ship in Penn State, Donald. All right, final thoughts.
Well,
you better. I want to see Kamala next week.
He's a businessman.
I want you getting
I can't
Kamala
blame
on here.
Money's money.
Did you see Kamala, or hear Kamala, the time she said that women's brackets just came out? They just allowed women to have brackets in sports 2 years ago. Like for basketball?
I did not see that.
That's not surprising coming out of her mouth.
awesome.
She says a lot of uneducated things.
Listen,
That was a funny
Donald,
segment.
let's
I
have
wanna
you
talk
calling
about
in
this
like this
problem
every
we're
week.
having.
Let's start having
I
a
need to
Donald
talk about one more
segment.
problem.
Go.
We have people try and come into our country while we have these athletes moving out of our country. Make it make sense. Make it make sense.
Okay, fair point. That's a fair point. Well, they can't make the team. I'll tell you what, I never even gave my Olympic takeaways. Real quick, everyone's disappointed we didn't. Listen, are we not as good as these other countries? Yes, we are. We are so deep. It's the fact that it's only 6 weight classes, okay? So the variance there, if it was 10, the more weight classes, the more America would dominate wrestling, okay? Am I worried about the rest of the world or the fact that Russia wasn't even there? I'm not even worried, dude, because the depth is in America. That was my case.
Yeah. It's if like I said, you go down the weights, it's really not that staggering what happened. And I mean, Japan had a really good tournament all around. It was pretty crazy what they did. When they start getting the heavier weights to do well, watch out. But let's not also. Everyone's like, well, Russia wasn't there. Russia was there, man. There was 17 wrestlers from Russia. I know it's not their starting team, but 17 dudes from Russia, doing very well.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's and what that was. Oh, I also wanted to just say something real quick. I've given Seabass a lot of slack. As you know, I've been like very critical of him for the draws he gets. How every American has tech-falled him. He's been teched by McKenna 3 times. And this is all in the past 2 years. Yanni, he teched him in a minute in the World Semis. Nick Lee teched him. But I gotta say, man, I gotta give credit where credit's due. He went out there. He got another. At first, he had another easy draw, and then he went in there and he had the eventual Olympic champ, and he almost beat him. It was 8-6, right? And then in wrestlebacks, he almost got pinned in wrestlebacks, but then he pulled that out. But for him to beat O'Cheer was previously undefeated against all Americans. He has a hit list he's beaten Yanni, he's beaten Nick Lee. He destroyed Nick Lee. He threw him all over the place. He beat Zane. He beat Evan Henderson. He beat McKenna. I mean, that was, and the thing with Seabass is I loved watching Seabass in folk style, right? He's so gritty and he just hangs around. You know what I mean? Like he's one of those guys that you just can't really separate too much from. And and as a case of it, he's got a silver world medal and an Olympic bronze medal, and that's more medals than all of the United States medals at 65 combined since 2008. Only Yanni has a silver medal. We have no medals besides that, and Sebastian has the bronze and the silver. And I know that he goes to the ranking series tournaments, but you know what? Who can blame him? He does his thing. He gets his ranking. He admits it. He goes, I'm at Puerto Rico. It's easier. I don't have to go through the gauntlet. But
smart.
He beat Tavanian in the semis last year to make the world final, and Tavanian's a tough match. He came back and won. He came back and won this match. I got nothing to say except for like, good for him, man. He really deserved
did his job, man. Yeah, earned it. Yeah. Well done. Well, Donald, listen, I'm tired, man. We went a little long, and Kevin, we didn't touch on a lot of topics, so we'll be back next week. We have plenty of stuff to talk about.
You're tired, sleepy as well.
Donald, let's have you back next week, man. Let's get weekly updates on the campaign trail.
I'll try, but I'm a busy man. And a busy man has to keep up with his other tasks, like winning back America, so we can win more gold.
Okay. Hey, and folks, let's find out when this wrestling tournament is for $1 million so we can watch that coming up next. But that's it. Like and subscribe, folks. Kevin, thank you. Donald, thank you. Thanks to Sean Bormet. What an incredible interview.
Thank you.
Dude. That was
Thank you.
fun.
Awesome
And,
guy.
we'll be back.